you have to have your phone on you 24/7 to reply to messages. You have to have 24/7 maintenance, because if you make $10 more a night, that's significant over the month, even though it's not significant necessarily for the night.
How hard is this to do on your own? I guess maybe let's ask that question. Like what are some of the things that you've learned over the years where, because I get it all the time with borrowers, they're like, no, we're going to buy this and we're going to Airbnb it. It's going to be awesome, blah, blah, blah. And like, I mean, I'm sure it probably could be and would be, but like, what are some of the pitfalls maybe that you've seen over the years, and that, you know, now that you've been through it, you can kind of see what is coming that you didn't maybe see before? Maybe just talk about a little bit of the ins and outs of you know, how it works and what kind of trip ups you've seen over the years.
Yeah, totally. And I would, if somebody wants to manage their own Airbnb, like I'm so pro that too. The problem is most people burn out because it is so much work. And so if you want to manage your own, like I have tons of free resources. I will give you my time of day. Like I would love that because I love the industry. But so many people are just overwhelmed with it. So you have to have your phone on you 24/7 to reply to messages. You have to have 24/7 maintenance. You have to have, and some of that just doesn't support from like a single property. So having someone on call might not be worth it financially, which means you're on call, which means no vacations, no camping, which isn't good for me. So your pricing, you can make, one of our things is we price like airlines. We're very technical with our pricing. We use tons of data. We use a product that scrapes VRBO, hotels, websites, airlines every single day for data, and then aggregates that to help us price. Because if you make $10 more a night, that's significant over the month, even though it's not significant necessarily for the night. Yeah. So pricing analytics, your cleaners, we have like a whole cleaning team. We employ 8 different cleaning companies. And if you're an individual trying to do all of that, it can get hard. It's the same place, it's the same boat. I can speak to it because we were there. We were saying, wow, this is hard to do individually unless you can hire beneath and create some really good systems. Yeah.
So, okay, this is a great time to kind of maybe drill down a little further in the ins and outs. So and you share whatever you're comfortable sharing and not comfortable sharing, but what does your back end look like, how to track all of this? Do you use a specific software or program, or maybe just think through from start to finish about what you do, and just talk a little bit about, you know, how it's set up behind the scenes? Because one thing I gathered from you, you know, knowing you for a little bit and talking to you, and then what you mentioned on your call, is playing to your strengths. And you even mentioned at the beginning, like you could probably be doing something in a bunch of different industries. It's great that real estate's, you know, profitable, but your kind of sweet spot skill set is maybe mostly in organization, systems, processes, automation. How do you have Home Havens running behind the scenes?
Yeah. Okay. I'll give it all away. I'm an open book about that.
I love it. I love it.
So first, I want to say this comment though. There is so much power in building a business in real estate. And we've learned that recently with financing. And so I would encourage you, whatever you're doing, if you're flipping, if you are a commercial guy, whatever, build a business in it that has systems and automations and potentially employees, maybe not, just depends on your business. Because I see some flippers that flip for 5 years and then they walk away. They can't sell their flipping company. They can't do anything with it. They can't even get financing with it. But if you build a business, then it's amazing the things you can do. So we've had the opportunity. We actually kind of did it on accident. It was probably Aaron's Kool-Aid that I just didn't realize. But back end. Okay, so we use a product. It's called smartbnb.io, and Aaron will drop all these links in the chat.
Cool.
SmartBnB does all of our messaging automation. They're the best in the industry, and you can contact them directly to get features added, which is something I always look for companies that are still innovating. Mm-hmm. So we send 7 messages, a minimum of 7 messages to every single person who stays in any of our properties. And that is a massive ton of communication, and that's at a bare minimum. I have an assistant. Her name is Eva. She's great. She's local, but she does, so she can rent out to properties. We can meet for in-person training, which I like, but she does a lot of VA type things for us. We do photography in-house because that's the only way we've been able to get the consistency we need. And we hired a professional photographer and bought equipment, and we only know how to do one thing. We know how to take pictures for short-term rentals and pictures of properties, and that's it.
Yeah.
I have a remote editor in Vietnam who does all of our photo editing. We have 8 cleaning companies that we work with. We work with bigger companies, but not too big that they're more pricey, like medium-sized ones where if somebody goes on vacation, they can still cover all the cleanings. And
don't lose your train of thought, but I'm guessing I know the answer, but just to clarify, why do you have 8?
Zones.
Zones,
so
okay.
We zone all of our maintenance. So we manage from St. George to the top of Logan. And so I can't have somebody from Salt Lake driving to Logan. It's too expensive. And so we zone out all of our units. And same with maintenance. So we have zones for maintenance. So I've got a handyman in Salt Lake and one in Utah County, and we zone everything out.
Okay.
Other automation tasks, we use Asana for me to communicate with my assistant, with Eva. So it's just a task management system. I think you use Asana too. I've at least seen you.
Yeah. Yep.
We use Google Voice Plus or whatever as our phone system. So we have a 24-hour hotline.
So what does that do? I'm familiar with Google Voice, but what's Google Voice Plus?
And it might even be called Plus anymore, but it just allows you some other features. So you can transfer a call. So if your assistant picks up a call and it has to go to you, she can just pop it over to you and transfer a call. So it's just a really good, like, cheap hotline software, if you will.
Okay.
So, because most people in real estate are able to keep their staff small, so they don't need a massive constant contact kind of software. So that one's really great for like small phone needs. You can attach multiple numbers for it. You can schedule texts. We use PriceLab is the pricing software that we use that we really like. And that does a lot of the automation as far as scrapes all of the data from Airbnb and VRBO every day. So we can see our competition and you can see a massive amount of data that way.
If you're not doing that as a sole operator, like that's going to cover your guys' fee like in a heartbeat just by pricing things a little bit better, right? I mean, that's super smart. I love that.
Totally. I just talked to somebody who has property in St. George and we're able to make him what he's making without him having to do any of the cleanings or messaging anyone touching it immediately. And that's so great. Cool. So,
okay. So left off on PriceLabs, I kind of cut you off. So PriceLabs help scrape your data, scour your competition. And I love that it integrates with like airlines and stuff like that. So you can kind of see, and then what do you, is there also something that will track like, and it's different these days, right? But convention events and stuff so then that builds into your pricing model as far as with PriceLabs and stuff like that?
Yep. So PriceLab's really good at that. There's a variety of ways they do that. They watch for all the events and everything. But they also, as events have been canceled, I've just been so impressed at what they've done. And they take the neighborhood occupancies. They say, okay, there was 8 places in the neighborhood available yesterday. 2 of them got booked. So we're going to up your price because now there's less availability and yours is the cutest remaining, and just so much that helps us. And again, this is more, Aaron did pricing analytics in college, but he's helped me set it up and now we can just run it and it runs great. So PriceLabs is probably the #1 help. And then we do make manual adjustments for certain events and schedulings, and especially after COVID where we had to adjust a little bit more. But if you're looking for a good place to start, PriceLabs is great.
Okay, I want to get to Nate's question here in just a minute because he has a couple. What quickly is like, even for you now, what is the hardest part for you in managing all of this? Is it scaling, or is it the human part of like making sure people are there to do what, or is it the unknowns where someone shows up and something's broken and it was working the day before? Like what are some of the things the pain points that you see in your own business?
Yeah, I probably care too much. Okay. It's probably the emotional aspect. And that's funny because the more systems you have a little bit, the less emotional you feel about it.
Yeah.
So actually the video you played at the beginning was really touching to me, because we provide awesome places for people to go on vacations, and people come back to us and say, hey, I got engaged at your place, we want to book again. And you think about the memories you create, but sometimes when you step back and you see I don't know, the leaky sink and this and that, like, it doesn't feel like that. And so it's a really good perspective to balance those. So the hardest thing probably for me to manage currently is probably just pacing and working with people when things go wrong, which we've gotten really good at. Honestly, probably half of the messages that we as a company send that are custom messages are just canned. They're pre-written, which makes it really easy. So if the Wi-Fi goes out and AC goes out, we just send a canned message that is very kind and emotional and all of the things we need to be. Last minute maintenance, it's hard to have a perfect system for that. Yeah. But managing expectations, the more we grow, the better we're able to accommodate all those things. So really, I would say those. We don't have a problem scaling as far as that goes. So those are things you're always balancing, because those are the things you're always improving. The things that people are telling you you're doing wrong, those are the things you care the most about, you want to fix immediately. And so just the fact they come up in general bugs me personally, but I realize that that's because I care.
Sure.
So, anyway.
That's awesome. No, that's a great answer.